Alright, we're on this very important topic, rules, tables and graphs, page 525, 9.2. Now it's very important to understand the concept I'm going to explain to you now. A rule is an equation connecting two or more variables, and we have done this before. I'm going to use an example. It's going to be a simple example to explain to you exactly where this concept comes from. Let's say we have twins, y and x, and we say when x was born, y was also 0. When the first one was 1, y was also 1. When x was 2, y was also 2. In other words, if I start in a table and I say I have x and I have y, when x was y, y was y. When x was 1, y was 1. When x was 2, y was 2. When x was 3, y was 3. When x was 4, y was 4. If I had to plot this on to the graph, and I'll use this as pairs, and that's the second pair. When x was 1, y was 1. When x was 1, y was 1. When x was 2, y was 2. When x was 3, y was 3. When x was 4, y was 4. And we can say that they all lie on a straight line. But all that we really have now, the only thing that we really have is that we have 4 points. What we have to remember was in between there's also something happening. When x was a half, y was a half. When x was 1.5, y was 1.5. It's not points on our table, but it's definitely on that equation. When x was 1 month, y was 1 month. And so we can fill in all the gaps. We can go to days, to minutes, to seconds. And if we plot all those points are so close together that they form one line, and that line looks like that. Now, what we can see, and what I want to show you through this is, if I have a variable y equals x, if I have a rule, I can then take that rule and make a graphical representation of all the answers that makes this equation true. In other words, if I look at that line represents all possible answers for y and x. So what's the relation between rules, tables and graphs? I have a rule. The rule's always first. Then from the rule I can use a table to give me a guideline, and once I have a guideline I can connect all those lines. They will be in one straight line, and that line, that graph, that line will represent all possible answers for y and for x. So what have we learned? We've learned that a rule is linear when this straight line is formed when I plot all the points. For two variables, like y and x, we write the rule usually where y is the subject of the formula. So in other words, y equals 2x minus 3, or y equals minus x plus 7. So when I want to graph a linear relationship using a rule, these are the points that I can follow. So my first one will be, I'm going to construct a table of values. I'm going to substitute each x coordinate into a rule to find a y coordinate. I'm then going to plot the points given a table on a set of axes, and then I'm going to draw a line through these points to complete the graph. Let's see how we're going to do this in the next example. They say plotting the graph for the rule. Now what I've done is I've put up those steps 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. First of all, we're going to say construct a table for the values. So we're always going to have an x. Just use another color. I'm going to have my x value and I'm going to have y value. Now I can choose any values because mostly those points will be anywhere on this graph. The easiest one I find is we're going to start with always -2, -1, 0, 1 and 2. Now what we're going to do then, so what we've done now is we construct the table of values, and now we're going to substitute each x coordinate into the rule, where this is our rule, and then we're going to find the y value. So I'm going to do 1, and I'm going to do the easiest one. The easiest one is usually 1 or even 0. So I'm going to say if x equals, let's use 0, then y equals, and I'm going to substitute 2, I'm going to substitute 0 in the place of x. So I'm going to use, when I do substitution, I'm going to make a bracket. When x is 0, what is y? 2 times 0 is 0, y is minus 1. So when x is 0, y is minus 1. Now in the exam you only have to show one of these steps, but you have to show it. After that you can do it in your head. So you can say when x is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. And I can complete the table. What I can do is I can use my graphics calculator. Now I'm going to insert a quick video for you to show how to do it on your calculator.
So on your calculator, what we will do is first clear the memory, second function reset 0. We will then say 2 for memory clear. Click on table, put in your equation 2x negative, take away 1. We will then say enter. We will start our graph. It doesn't really matter because you can move up and down just like you need to. We'll say -2 and we say step up 1 at a time, which means from -2 to -1 to 0. We'll then go through and say OK. Once we're at OK, we have our equation. -2 is -5, so if x is -2, that is -5. If x is -1, y is -3. So you can complete your table. All you need to do is move up or down to get any other value that you really want.
Right, and that's how you will then complete the table. Once the table is completed, we just have to plot these points on there. So when x is -2, y is -5. -2, I'm going to use a highlighter just to make it clear. When x is -2, y is -5. When x is -1, y is -3. When x is 0, y is -1. When x is 1, y is 1. Just going to undo that one so it looks 1. When x is 2, y is 3. We can see that all of those in a straight line, and all I do now is I take my pen and I draw a straight line through all of those with a ruler, and I put arrows in there. So that will then how I draw my graph. What I need you to do is to go to exercise 9b and do the questions according to your timetable.